Okay, sir.
Welcome, students. In today's session, we will have the presentations. Let us begin with Prajwal's. Prajwal, you can now share your screen and begin with your presentation.
Yes, sir. So is the screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, sir. So good morning, everyone. Today, I am here to give a brief on cloud storage as MobileMe. So basically, this was brought up by Apple company, Apple Incorporated company. So this occurred with many more twists. So starting from basic, so as it was a first service offered by Apple company, so it is a like collection of online services, and that was and it was a software which was giving the full facilities of storing and synchronizing of all the applications with them. So coming to the overview, as you can see, it is a collection of online services and software offered by Apple. It allowed many more users to store address books, documents, pictures, emails. So when it was as offered a first service by the Apple company, so this become a use case to the users, that it was a platform brought up by the Apple company. So this was not eventually started as MobileMe. Okay, so basically it was not given a pure name as what I am doing with MobileMe. It was given some other name. So it uses Ajax and HTML to simulate the look and feel of desktop applications. So to be compatible with the desktop application, it used the Ajax and HTML language to make it comfortable with the users. So coming to its evaluation, as I said, it was not brought up in the pure form of MobileMe. So on the when it was first officially launched, it was launched only as iTools. Okay, so what is iTools? It is a free collection of internet-based services for Mac operating system. So basically, this was useful at the start for the more of the Apple companies, Apple devices and all. So later on, when it brought up as iTools, after 2 years, the next evolution was brought as a .Mac, where it became a paid service, where many more useful applications and services were given to the public. They were using it. So and later on, when it was the last evolution was brought July 9, 2008, it was in the pure form of MobileMe. It was brought as MobileMe because on that term it was not only given to the Apple devices, but it was also given to the desktop evolution, the use cases to them. So it was overall these three evolutions were rolled, and the last evolution which was brought up was by MobileMe. So this is the pricing when it eventually started. As you can see, United States, not many more countries worked out with this. So this was United $99 for the personal. So it was something like 7,000 and around. So this is the overall pricing of the MobileMe. So basically, this was the huge twist brought up for MobileMe, as MobileMe came till 2012 eventually in the pure form. But later on, what happened, to be more compatible, to be more useful for the Apple company, they thought to make a twist and they merged with the iCloud now. So basically, now the MobileMe was called as iCloud. So if in today's world, if someone asks what is the MobileMe, so we can eventually say that it is a discontinued subscription of the online services and software which were brought up by some Apple incorporated company, and all the services which were till now brought by the MobileMe is now replaced by the iCloud. So whatever the details were stored there, they were basically brought up now by iCloud. But since when the MobileMe was going to close in some around 2012, before 1 year, only 1 year ago, in 2011, there was a notice sent to the MobileMe users that in the next year, the MobileMe services were not going to be used. So basically, there was given a usage warning that whatever the data you have on right now on the MobileMe, you have to make transfer to the iCloud. So all the details, there was a 1 year time given for that, so all to merge all the details to iCloud. And so whoever details were not merged, they were lost up with their accounts. So I will just show, so this website basically was accessed by mobileme.com. So I'll just show you if today I'm going to access the website by mobileme.com, what it takes a change. So is the screen visible now?
Yes.
It is visible.
Yes, yes sir. So basically now I'm typing in the URL section as mobileme.com. As I said, the mobileme website was only accessible by mobileme.com. So as you can see, the change occurred here when I typed the URL as mobileme.com, it came out through apple.com. So that's what I said just now. Whatever the services which were applied to when it came as iTools, let it be as .Mac or let it be as mobileme in the pure form. But when it occurred at the last stage in the 2012, it was synchronized with the Apple. So whatever the services now mobileme is giving, so it was basically transferred to the Apple. So if also you are going to access the website as mobileme.com, it will not go, it will directly bring up to apple.com. So the interface you can see, so we can get many more Apple devices here. This is all the interface we have. So this is basically now the account which I have, iCloud.com. So whatever services, the storage and all services, what mobileme was doing at that time. So it happened over this account, iCloud. Yes, sir. So basically this is actually it is saying good evening Prajwal. It is according to the US time. So this is the interface of the iCloud.com. This is all the contacts you can get. This is the iCloud Drive. So this is basically where I have uploaded one of the unit of a last sim. So this is from where we can upload all the setting. So basically what iCloud gave me a storage when I first logged in with this account. So it gave me a 1 GB of storage of iCloud. So if I want to go for some further storage, I need to pay some amount. So like that, I will come to the later on point, like how if you want to get some more amount, how it works, and for if you want to get some used storage like 5 GB, 10 GB, whatever account is, so we have to pay something cost for it. So this is all about the iCloud, I can say. So coming back to the PPT. So as you saw that I started with basically mobileme and came through some more twist occurred, how it eventually started, how it eventually changed, and now how it comes to iCloud. So I'll just give a brief now why we should prefer iCloud. Okay. So basically, as you can see, it stored data securely on Apple's remote server. Like if you are using the Apple mobile and you are using the data, so whatever your data been uploading or you're it's synchronized, it goes synchronously with other devices wherever you have logged in with the iCloud account. So information is back to all the secure location and synchronized between all your, as I say, how many devices you have made the login of iCloud, wherever you have made your account login, it will synchronize. Not like if you are storing on Apple, you have to separately store. It will eventually start storing. And so with iCloud, changes on one device appear on others. That's understandable. As I said, from one device, if all are synchronized, then it will go for eventually all others. So coming to the features of iCloud, its first feature is backup the mobile data. So as we can see, if we are lagging out of the storage, so we sometimes see that if you're lagging out of storage, there is some useful data that we have to move on. So it basically helps in the backup of the mobile data. If whatever data you have to backup, it gives an option of automatic backup where you can backup your data and make storage free. And next comes the flexible working experience. As you can see, for you as I'm using a PC, the use case is very smooth. There is nothing more complicated in this, so it is a flexible use for me. And coming to the higher security, if you want to log in with iCloud.com, so there is basically starting at the password authenticator, two-way authentication comes up for your devices. So this helps in your security purpose. And coming to restore previous files, so sometimes what happens if you are giving a 1 GB of storage or to your device, so whatever some data will be there, so that data you will delete. So it doesn't get permanently deleted. Like if you want to restore, that data gets up in one storage, where in that 1 GB only it will include it. So whatever you want to restore, you can go through that storage where the restore option I showed you, and you can buy the whatever files you want to restore, and you can make the storage clean then. And as I said, can buy more iCloud storage, as I showed you the 1 GB purpose. So whatever now in 2021, whatever the Apple devices are now coming, so they are coming with 5 GB iCloud storage for the Apple devices. So 5 GB like storage, it is not much compatible. Like if you want more storage, then we have to pay something amount. Like if you want to pay for go for 10 GB, 20 GB, there are certain amounts we have to pay. And the last feature what I find out is Find My Friends and Find My Phone. Something, this was the part of the Mobile Me that was added to the iCloud, like with iOS 5 and iOS. Here what happens, whatever user wants to send a location, with Find My Friends, what happen, if user wants to send one location, if you want to guess it, so it will show a roadmap to that. But Find My iPhone, like whatever, if your devices is lost, and even if it is on silent, and if you're going to that location, on the location on services, it will give you up a beep, and it will find out your phone. So the system requirements basically is for PC version Windows 7 or later, for the web access Firefox 22 or later, Google Chrome 28 or later, and Safari 6 or later. And the iOS device must be running iOS or later versions of it. And after, apart from all this, a stable internet connectivity is required. So this was the total brought up by iCloud, the features what I told. And nowadays the iCloud is much more running. And coming to the PC users, it's not like the Apple devices are more compatible with it, or it is going more use case for the Apple devices. It can also be used for the PC, as I showed you. And this was the evolution in the logo, as it was first brought up by 2011 till 2013. So it was brought up in 2012, but actually when the notice was sent up to the Mobile Me users that the iCloud is coming in 2012. So after the 30 June 2012, the all data will shift up to iCloud. So this was the first logo. Then the brought up certain more updates came. Then it came in 2002 in a new published logo, and till today this is the logo 2014. So right now we are going with this logo. Yes. So this is what all I had to say about iCloud. Thank you, sir.
A good presentation, Prajwal. Give him a round of applause. He could basically cover the evolution of the iCloud basically. Initially, when it was the Apple Incorporation designed the cloud storage, they named it to be a iTools. So it all started with iTools, and then it took a different naming conventions, and it went to a Mobile Me. And since in textbook it is described as a Mobile Me because it was written, textbook was written sometime in 2010. During that time, Mobile Me was there. So, and then later, eventually they migrated, they suspended the services of Mobile Me, but they brought up a new service by the new name, by the name iCloud, and still we do have the iCloud facility. I can say this is one of the highest security cloud storage what a person or what a user can have it. In the current market, there are a lot of vendors who provides the storage, cloud storages, but iCloud is the one of the who comes in topmost, the top position with respect to the securities. Since the securities are high, so eventually the user has to pay more money for that. That's why the iCloud services are little costlier. Fine. Now let's continue with Indrabhushan.
Yes.
Indrabhushan, now you can share your screen.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, Indrabhushan.
Yes.
And so it is visible.
Good morning, everyone. I'm presenting on the Live Mesh. It's about overview. Windows Live Mesh is a free to use internet-based file synchronization by Microsoft, and it shares between the two computers with the files and folders. Why files and folders only? Because at the time, there were no uh, file types like videos or image files. So at that time, they used to just with the document files, everything. So here the file synchronization means the two systems are connected via internet, and when we update the files, updated files are copied from a source location that you want to share. And the SkyDrive is earlier now SkyDrive is known as a OneDrive that we are using, but at that time before OneDrive, it was SkyDrive. Microsoft bought folder share by ByteDance Incorporation on 3rd 2005, and sync your files with Windows Live folder share. It means uh, there are two systems where there is a system A and system B, where you can sync your files and folder via folder share. On March 2008, Microsoft released its first user update to Windows Live folder share. The new update had some user interface and branding updates. They supported discussion groups, and remote desktop search was also removed in the update. What is folder share here? The folder share is a tool that allows you to share or sync files with anyone you like. It has some unrestricted use up to 2 GB per file size, unlimited file transfer, no restrictions on file type. For example, like file type can be anything, video, audio, or image files, but the file should be wrapped inside a folder. After 2 years, on June 24, 2010, they have released Windows Live Sync, which was built using both folder share and live mesh technologies, which has ability to sync up to 2 GB of files to the cloud on Windows Live. Previously, Windows Live Sync again and upgraded, and it come up with many features that will be discussed later. Features of Windows Live Mesh include ability to sync up to 200 folders with 1 lakh files each, and each file is up to 40 GB for PC to PC synchronization. Here, PC to PC synchronization is known as peer-to-peer synchronize, in the sense you are connected to the directly to the another PC. There is no in-between cloud, and Windows Live Mesh was new concept and technologies that time at 2011, and the features are available that time are not fascinating this generation. So that time the ability to sync up to 5 GB of files, SkyDrive synced storage in the cloud is used that time. Remote desktop access via Windows Live Mesh and Windows Live devices, web devices. Here, remote desktop access, you can access the the connected laptop. You can access the all the authorities, like accessing all the features of the next laptop. You can access there. Live sync versus live mesh. Before the live mesh, it has the technology with the live sync. Live sync lets you synchronize files between two or more updates, two or more computers. When you are connected with the computer and laptop, when you update the file, it will not send. It will sync with the next computer. It means you are not sending the system on next. You are just, when you type something, it will type to the next computer also. Here, when it comes with the live mesh, computer live mesh, live mesh is also free from Microsoft, and it can also do all that live sync can, plus some more. Live mesh lets you synchronize folders between two or more computers, just like live sync. Here it comes with live mesh cloud, which is known as SkyDrive. When you send or up, or you want to synchronize with the next another laptop, it saves in cloud computer, then it can system requirements, operating system 32 or 64-bit versions and above, processor 1.6 gigahertz or higher, memory 1 GB of RAM or higher, and resolution is just HD. It's when it comes to the internet connection, online service required dial-up. That time the Wi-Fi was not that much popular, or the speed we have now, that time that speed was not available. So it requires a dial-up or high-speed internet access, and graphic card or direct X9 or higher. Thank you, sir.
Very good presentation, Indrabhushan. Give him also a round of applause. Now again, this particular product is from Microsoft. The one which we use as a OneDrive, it was earlier used to call as the mesh, and then it was again rebranded with the different names, and now it is existing as OneDrives. Okay, I hope you might be using OneDrive to synchronize your files onto the Microsoft Cloud interface. Right? Did you understood the concept of that live sync and live mesh? What he has put up two diagrams there. The live sync and live mesh. Can anyone tell me what is the main difference between those two, the live sync and live mesh? Can anyone try to? Come on, guys. Nobody paid attention to the presentations. So it's like, sir, we don't give any attention to your classes itself, and then how can we give to the students' presentations, right? Now, basically the live sync is between two computers, right? The two computers means the user's computers itself. If we have two different computers and the data is there and we want to synchronize the data between those two computers, so they need to be a certain mechanism. So that is what the Microsoft had brought into the picture in early 2010s, 2010 and 2011s. So they called it to be a live sync, where we can set up a folder on our system, and that system can be made as synchronization or a live synchronization. So if I set up another computer, then both the computers, that particular folder files can be synchronized. But it is limited with only 2 computers. If someone deletes the data from that one, then again it is gone. So it is synchronizing between 2 local computers there. There was no concept of a cloud storage that time. So eventually they got into a cloud storage, and then they called it to be the other versions, where they, along with the 2 computers, whatever the data was there in that particular folder, it was also uploaded onto the cloud storage folders of the respective user's account. So now the data is not only present on the 2 computers, but rather it is also present on the cloud. So in future, if he wants to get the data, not from only those 2, he can also get from any third computer just by directly getting onto the cloud infrastructure and can access the data. And any modifications done to the data will be directly getting updated onto the cloud interface, which will eventually synchronize all other respective computers. So later again, they try to introduce a lot of new features, and now it is available as OneDrive, which you might be using it. Okay, we'll move on to the next presentation. Aditi, are you ready with your presentation? Aditi Halgekar. I think she is not there in the meeting right now, right? She is. Okay, no worries. Let's. In one of the previous presentation, we have discussed on Amazon's S3, right? Let me try to put some details upon Amazon's S3's, the concept of something called as buckets and records, or the objects basically. Let me show you my presentation PPT here. Give me a moment. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now in Ajay's presentation, we have come across with something called as the buckets and objects basically, right? What these bucket and objects are. First thing is that Amazon has not disclosed any technicality related how it works, how the S3 works. Okay, the fundamental concepts of that, nothing they have disclosed. It is private with themselves, but they have given a brief on how it works basically. The Amazon S3, the cloud infrastructure, they have a different regions. Different regions here are nothing but the geographical regions, like Europe, North America section. Usually they call it as a NA, North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, right? In Asia Pacific, India comes into picture. For India, they have one particular storage place, and which is situated in Mumbai. That's the only place for India. So like that, they have a different geographical spaces, and they have set it as a different parts there. Now, how it works basically is that they have a huge set of storage devices, and once the user wants to store their data onto the S3, then they will be given with one particular unique identification account. Okay, now that unique identification account will consist of, they can try to store data in a set of buckets. You can just see here, now there is some picture kind of which is depicting to be a kind of a bucket. Basically, bucket is nothing but it is a storage. We can say logically related data are stored into some space folder called as a bucket. And in this bucket, what it stores the objects. Objects, they mean here is that the files which the user wants to upload onto their S3 cloud. Objects can be files, means it can be a video file, it can be a Word document file, or it can be any type of the files they want to upload. Each file or each object can take up to 5 GB of data. That means a file or object can have a maximum of 5 GB of data. So what they do is that along with that particular object, when it is uploaded first time on their cloud, they add certain data called as a metadata. Metadata basically tries to describe what particular object it is, in which bucket it has to be stored, or in which particular bucket it is being stored, what is the related account of that one, what type of permission is being put on this particular object. All those sort of data will be done on a piece of small data which they themselves add to every object. So basically just metadata provides the details related to the objects and its permissions. We can summarize it like that. So every bucket, every objects will be stored in a particular bucket, and each bucket will be identified by its unique identification number, and that identification number again will be given to an individual users. If someone wants to get or store some data, then it has to be stored in one of the buckets. Depending upon the pricing or what type of the service user has chosen, they will allow them to store say 10 buckets per account or 100 buckets per account, depending upon what they have opted for. Based upon that, the buckets can be purchased and the objects can be eventually stored into those buckets. And they will be having every bucket will be having a unique, probably something like a URL. In the URL, there will be unique identification number kind of a subdomains, and there the data will be stored. Not much technical details are available with us, the working of S3. This is in simple terms, we can see how S3 works. Different permissions can be given. Permissions in the sense, say, suppose if there is a organization and they have 10 members, employees working there, and if in the 10 members, we can say 5 members are a testing team and remaining 5 members are a development team, right? Then the file, there can be a different type of permissions that have to be set for the different work groups, right? Testing team may require certain different permissions, whereas the development team may require certain different types of the permissions. So those permissions can be set onto the every objects. The permissions can be set onto the object level. Also, the permissions can be set onto the bucket level. So this is just a brief on how S3 works, right? Okay. In next class, just CR and LR, are you here in the call?
Yes, sir.
Just Sanjana, just inform Aditi that she has to be present tomorrow's class. If there are some difficulties that she cannot do the presentation, ask her to inform me.
Yes, sir, I'll inform.
Okay. Students, do enter your attendance. Guys, do you use OneDrive to store data?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and do you also use the synchronization techniques there? That if you just put on
No, sir. Actually, I haven't actually synced it yet.
Okay. So whenever you set up a OneDrive on your local machines, it will give you one particular folder, right? So that I can just quickly show you. See, this is one particular OneDrive related to my account, what I have set up. And in that, I have certain folders and files here. So these files and folders are nothing but they are synchronized on the cloud. Means right now OneDrive is not running. If the OneDrive is running, then whatever modifications I do on these particular data, right? All that data will get uploaded onto the cloud infrastructure. Now you can see here these symbols. The symbol here status, it is a status basically. The status, what it says that this symbol appears means the data is synchronized on my system and on the cloud. Means now next time when I want to work on any of the PPTs, then I no need to rely on this particular system. Directly I can just get connected to any other device and I can get access the cloud, I get the latest document. And whatever modifications I do over there, and this system is has the connection, internet connection, again it will get reflected here also. So wherever I access the data, it will be available with us. So you just need to set up the OneDrive for first time and then keep it synchronized. Keep it synchronized means the data will be uploaded every time. It takes a little more data, like every time it has to, whenever the synchronization takes place, the same amount of data will get updated over there. And also they have something called as the revision history. I will show you in next class. The revision history means what? Okay, how we can have the multiple copies of a same file. It gives access to multiple copies of the same file using the revision history. Wonderful features are there. If someone wants to use them, then it's a very good option to have a OneDrive. And again, it is a paid version. It is not a free version now. It is a paid version. You need to purchase the license of Microsoft, then you get a good amount of functionalities and features.